All right, peace and blessings. We're going to get into this portion of Revelation chapter 11. Just the top portion, some very important details, all right, about the 1,000-year reign, right? We're going to time it. It's going to be undeniable, but for some reason, everybody always has an opinion. So this is undeniable according to the scriptures, but I'll let them wrestle with what the scriptures say themselves. And I'll also give proper exegesis of about half of the chapter. So now let's read. It says, "And there was given me a reed like unto a rod. And the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of God and the altar and them that worship therein." Right? Verse 2. "But the court which is without the temple leave out and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months. Yeah, when was the holy city tread underfoot for 3.5 years? That was at the destruction of Jerusalem. But hey, I'll let the normal Christians fight over that, right? It says, "And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,263 days, clothed in sackcloth." So that's 3.5 years. You know, it's interesting. They're clothed in sackcloth because just like the Ninevites, they put on sackcloth and didn't taste anything. A reason being is because destruction was coming to their city in 40 days. Just like in 40 years from the time of Christ. Yeah, let's keep reading. That's not even what I'm here to explain. I'm here to explain the timing of the 1,000-year reign, right? We'll go over the intricate details of Revelation 11 at another time. "These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks standing before the God of the earth." That's drawing from the book of Zechariah. It says, "And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed." That's talking about their preaching. Look at the note here. All right, let's keep going. It says, "These have power to shut heaven that it rain not in the days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them." Now, real quick, who is the beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit? Boy, it's the beast that Mystery Babylon is riding on. Satan. Let's start here in this note. Bottomless pit beast identity. Revelation 17 and 7 through 8. "And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns." Now that's drawing back to Revelation 13, but there's 2 beasts with 7 heads and 10 horns in Revelation 17. In Revelation 13. This beast is the red or scarlet beast, which is from Revelation chapter 12, with 7 heads, 10 horns, 7 crowns upon his head. That's the one that the woman is riding upon. The other one, the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns, but he looks like a lion, a leopard, and a bear. That's another beast, right? I'll explain that in another video. It says, "I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition." So wait. He's the one that's going to ascend out of the bottomless pit? Yeah. That's the same beast. But they're going to say, oh, this isn't a beast. It says he's a dragon. A dragon or a serpent is a beast. Right? It's literally an animal. That's what the word beast means all throughout the Bible. It says, "The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is." Yeah, so the bottomless pit beast is the beast that the whore was riding upon. The scarlet-colored beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. Now watch this. All right, here we go. Let's see who that beast was, because we know it's Satan, so that means it's the same beast from Revelation chapter 12. It says, "This is Satan being released from the bottomless pit after the 1,000 years." Oh my God, that's so interesting. That's Revelation chapter 20. So Let's read. It says, "And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit." Remember, he ascended out of the bottomless pit to make war with the saints before Christ returns. We're going to get into that in Revelation 11, right? "And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years." The 1,000 years isn't literal, but let's keep reading. "And cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosed a little season." That's very interesting. After that he must be loose for a little season. Watch this. This is the book of Revelation chapter 12 and verse 12. It says, "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them." This is current tense language. "Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time." So he knows that he has a short time. So it looks like in this point of Revelation chapter 12, which I'll explain the whole of Revelation 12 at another time, Satan is in his little season already, meaning he had already ascended up out of the bottomless pit. Let's go back to Revelation 11, because it's telling you right here, before the return of Christ, the beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit, which we've already identified as Satan, is going to make war with the saints. Let's keep reading. It says, "And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them." Very interesting. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 23 and verse 34. "Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them ye shall kill and crucify, and some of them shall ye scourge in your synagogues, and persecute them from city to city, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth." He's talking to the rulers of the Jews, by the way. "From the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, son of Barachias, whom ye slew between the temple and the altar. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation." So wait, they're the Satan that's persecuting the followers of Christ? And all the blood of the righteous are going to come upon that generation? That means Christ is going to return in that generation. But the Protestants, the Orthodox, the Catholic, I'm Orthodox, by the way, they're gonna fight against it. But it's literally the facts of the Bible. There's no getting around this whatsoever. It says, "The blood of Zacharias, son of Barachias, whom ye slew between the temple and the altar. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets." Weren't the two witnesses in Revelation 11 prophets? Oh, so I wonder who was the Satan that overcame them and killed them? Oh, it probably was Jerusalem. Doesn't the Bible say it cannot be that a prophet dies outside of Jerusalem? Isn't that what Jesus said after he said, "Hey, listen, you tell that fox Herod I'm going to be doing miracles today, and the third day I'm going to be glorified"? Like, yeah. So Jerusalem is the one who's the Satan that killed these people. Now, how do we prove that even further and without a shadow of a doubt? Well, we just go to the next verse. It says, "And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified." Where was our Lord Jesus Christ crucified? Well, he was crucified by the Jerusalemites right outside of the gates of Jerusalem, in the hill of Golgotha, Calvary. Interesting. "And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves." So he's communicating here that during the time of the Great Tribulation, they're going to keep killing these people, these Christians, right? That's why it says in Revelation 5 that the souls that were under the altar needed to wait until the rest of their brethren would join them. And then that was basically the fullness that God was looking for to pour out the wrath upon Jerusalem to destroy them. All right. Not suffering their dead bodies to be put in graves. If you look at Jewish culture, if you killed someone or you executed them, they were supposed to be buried in a grave or sepulcher before the sun goes down. So their bodies being strewn out in the street just is like they're dying embarrassing deaths, right? It says verse 10, or dishonorable deaths, because they're obviously they think that they're blasphemers. Jesus said, the time cometh when he that killeth you thinks that he does the service of God. Verse 10, it says, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth. It says, and the spirit of life from God entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. That's Christ's return right there. And crazily enough, that means that Christ's return to gather happened prior to the destruction of Jerusalem, prior to a 3.5 year besieging by the Gentiles, which obviously ends in the city's desolation according to the book of Luke. So we see that Christ returns to get the two witnesses, right? Quote unquote. I don't believe it's literally two people, but Christ comes, gets the two witnesses before the city of Jerusalem is destroyed, and he delivers them from that judgment. It's very interesting. But let's go back to one part, because if the beast ascends out of the bottomless pit, if that is Satan, like I just proved, Satan doesn't ascend out of the bottomless pit until after the 1,000 years are finished. So when did the 1,000 years begin? Well, the 1,000 years would have had to begin when Satan was bound. Okay, let's see this. All right, let's see when Satan was bound exactly. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 26. Let's see. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 12, and verse 26. It says, and if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. So wait, Jesus is casting out Satan? Where is he casting him out to? Let's read. It says, how shall then his kingdom stand? And if I by Beelzebub cast out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? Therefore they shall be your judges. But if I cast out devils by the Spirit of God, then the kingdom of God is come unto you. Very interesting. Let's read the next verse. Or else how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house? So according to this verse, Jesus cast Satan out, and he bound him so that he could spoil his house. Didn't he tell the Jews, ye are of your father the devil? Where do children live? Well, children live in the house of their father. Very interesting. The house of their parents, Very, very interesting. Let's go back to Revelation 11. So that means that at the beginning of Jesus's ministry, I would say when he came out of the wilderness, that's when the 1,000 years would have began. And the 1,000 years would have been finished during the time after Jesus ascended. And then Satan would have come up out of the bottomless pit to persecute, right? There's a lot more verses that I can go to make this point. But just look here. Watch this. So look what Peter is saying right here. This is 1 Peter 5:8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. So he's seeking whom he may devour. But we just read that Christ bound him in a certain way in Matthew 12. So if he was seeking whom he may devour, but he was also bound at the time, and Christ was obviously casting out his angels, right? I just think that is interesting. Yeah, I just think that that's very interesting, because if he's going about seeking whom he may devour, then it seems to me like he's in his little season, right? During the time that the gospel is going forth to the world. Let's go back to Revelation 12. All right. So look, it says here, Revelation 12:5, and she brought forth a man child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. That's Mary and Jesus, by the way. And it's also heavenly Jerusalem. and the church, right? It's a double entendre. It says, and her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days, 3.5 years. Very interesting. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. Michael, one like God, is fighting against the dragon. Didn't Paul say the weapons of our warfare are not carnal? So Michael and his angels, the one who is like God, people say, well, Jesus can't be Michael. That's up to you. Whether you want to make Michael a separate person or you want to make Michael Jesus, either way it goes, all this is showing you is that they're fighting against the devil. You see what I'm saying? Why do you think Paul said, put on the whole armor of God that you may stand against your enemy, the devil? You know what I'm saying? Why are you putting on the armor if the quote unquote angels are fighting? You see what I'm saying? You see how this is painting a picture of something? It says, and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found anymore in heaven. Isn't that exactly what we just read in Revelation, what was that, 17? Where we see that the angel had the great chain in his hand and cast Satan out of heaven and into the bottomless pit. Yeah, that's Christ. Christ is the one who bound Satan and cast him into the bottomless pit so that he wouldn't deceive the nations anymore. How was he deceiving the nations? Because according to 2 Corinthians chapter 3, the Jews were putting the veil over the eyes of the nations by reading Moses. Watch this, right? Let's go to the book of Isaiah chapter 26. Because it gets crazy, man. It's a whole lot of stuff that you gotta check for in this Bible. Like, there's a whole lot of details that people are overlooking. My bad. So now this chapter is talking about Jerusalem, right? And this is the last verse that I'm gonna give y'all for this, but the evidence is all over the place. If you need more evidence, I can make another part. But look, this is how Satan was deceiving the nations. Remember, Jesus told the Jews that they were the synagogue of Satan in Revelation 2:9 and 3:9. And in John, he told the Jews, ye are of your father the devil. God is not your father. So they are the Satan. Just like how Jesus is the Son of God and God. Interesting. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 25 and verse 5. Thou shalt bring down the noise of strangers as the heat in a dry place. Even the heat with the shadow of a cloud, the branch of the terrible one shall be brought low. And in this mountain shall the Lord of hosts make unto all people a feast of fat things, a feast of wines on the lees, of fat things full of marrow, of wines on the lees well refined. Look at this verse. It says, he will destroy this mountain. In this mountain, the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. That's literally 2 Corinthians chapter 3. Literally. When Moses is read, a veil is upon their heart. Look at the next verse. He will swallow up death in victory. Isn't Jerusalem where Jesus defeated death and swallowed it up in victory? Yeah, when he came up out of the tomb, on the resurrection day, that's when he defeated death. Yeah, and the Lord will wipe away tears from off all faces, and the rebuke of his people shall he take away from off all the earth, for the Lord hath spoken it. That's very interesting. So yeah, basically we proved that the 1,000-year reign began at the beginning of Christ's ministry, and then during the time of the apostles' ministry, Satan was loosed for a little season to do his torments and things like that, brought up out of the bottomless pit, and to keep the veil over people. And the apostles and Christ obviously ended up overcoming it with the gospel, which explains how Christianity is like the most popular religion in the world right now. But it's a very simple lesson, not really difficult to grasp. Peace and blessings.